All right, guys, let's take a look at the new Draken Tugela. This is a watch gauge exclusive, the third version from the brand Draken for the Tugela, and white dial with an orange minute hand and some orange accents. Crazy lume. Yeah, sign me up. This is a home run at only $410. Yeah, let's check out the specs on this thing. I'll put a link in the description to the watch gauge. That's the only place you're going to be able to get this watch until they run out, and then you're going to be reliant on the secondary market depending on when you watch this. If you're watching this, a year or 2 years after I made this video, you're probably just kind of waiting for hopefully somebody to sell one because they're only making so many of these. 41.5 millimeter is what you measure up here, but you can see the shape of the case actually kind of tapers down, so where it's planted on your wrist is actually going to be smaller. So, but the top part that you see, 41.5, lug to lug, 48.25, non-drilled lugs. Completely bead blasted case and bracelet and everything. So ultimate and tool watch look. Almost has like a titanium look to it, but it's certainly not titanium because it's got a little heft to it. 14 millimeter thick. That is all the way to the domed sapphire crystal. Single dome. See the distortion on it? So that means it's domed on the top, flat underneath. That's how you get that distortion. So some people like that, some people don't. A lot of watches are double domed. This one's single domed, and there's AR coating on the underside. So it just gives you a little bit of light play with it. 22 millimeter lug width bracelet tapers on this one down to 20 millimeter. And then you have a fully milled clasp, 6 micro adjust double pushers, and a fold over keeper also signed with Draken. And while we're talking about signed Draken pieces, the case side of this is also signed with the brand name. So I know there's mixed feelings on that as well, but it's done clean and smooth and unobtrusive, so I don't have a problem with it. I left the case back sticker on. How dare me, right? But nevertheless, there is a cool pressed in logo there. This is number 875. I forgot to look to see how many of these were actually made. I'm guessing if this is 875, maybe there was 1,000 of them. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm way off on that. All that information will be down in the description. So if we look at the front of this, this looks like it's ceramic, but that's actually a matte aluminum, black aluminum bezel insert. And then the printing in here is loomed, heavily applied loomed of the X1C3 loom. So it's going to be super bright. And then that beautiful stark white dial that just looks like a plain, unsuspecting white dial that's actually multiple layers of BGW9 loom. Wait till you see the loom shot at the end of the video for this guy. It's going to be impressive. And then of course you have the tinted type loom, so that's also going to be the C3X1 or X1C3, or however you do it, on the seconds, ham, hour, and minute. So you're going to have a nice dual application here. You're going to have some cool blue on the dial, and then you're going to have that brilliant green. It's going to be super legible with that black or charcoal type printing that is the indices with multiple different shapes there. So kind of fun, interesting, catches the eye, and never gets old of looking at it. So date at the 6 o'clock. You have an orange outline, so a little orange indice, and then the circle around it, black date wheel, and then you have a loomed date wheel as well. So super legible. Oh, speaking of loom, there's even loom on the crown. The crown is a 7 millimeter crown, heavily knurled and a little bit longer than the previous generations. If you can't operate this, then I'm not sure what would make it easier, because this is the easiest traction and operating crown, even with the crown guards, to manage. You can wind it here. First position is going to be your date. Second position is going to hack the movement and then adjust the time. This is using the Seiko NH35 movement. So beating at 21,600, all that good stuff. So easy to service, easy to replace if you need to. I have yet to replace a Seiko movement. I haven't had any problems with them. Also tons of traction, but not overly bitey on the bezel. The bezel is 120 click. I find it sounds better if you turn it slower. If you turn it too fast, it kind of just like doesn't sound that great, but it still feels fine. So nice, clean, consistent clicks all the way around. Everything lines up. Wow, Marvel ideal, right? Lines up and everything's done right. Yeah, that's a poke, yeah, Seiko. So pin, split pin bracelet. I know some people like to see screw links, but I literally, almost every time I get a microbrand in here with screw links, I either have to take them out, put Loctite in them, put them back in, or I have to like constantly just keep an eye on them and tighten them up occasionally. And that includes watches that were sent in. And again, I'm not picking on the brand, but no, it wasn't this watch. I forget what watch it was. I had a watch in here. Maybe it was this Traska. I can't remember. It was a microbrand watch that I had in, and I went to go put it on. I noticed a couple of the screws were kind of like slowly coming out. It might have been this Squale. It might have been this one. I can't remember. I don't keep track. I just notice them, and then I just tighten them back up. Well, with split pin or pin and collar, I've never had that problem. And quite frankly, I can size up a split pin bracelet faster than I can do a screw link bracelet, no problem. And as you can see here, you have individual flexible links on this bracelet too. So that's going to mean comfort, right? It folds over, that center one of the solid end links articulates, and then the bracelet is, I mean, it's still kind of chunky because it's still thick to match the robust feeling of the watch case, but it also is, you know, it flexes, so it's comfortable. Speaking of which, let's pop it on wrist. Then we'll do some close-ups, and then I'll definitely show you the loom shot. That's impressive. Here it is on my 7¼ inch wrist. You can see, even though it's bead blasted, it still does a little bit of light play with all those flat surfaces. And then crazy, super good legibility with this thing with that white dial. It's what I love about white dial watches, especially divers. I like the divers. Most of you guys do too. And then that orange framed fully. I mean, think about this. Most handsets, it seems like I've been lately, don't have as much real estate for loom as some of these do. A lot of times they're half skeletonized or, you know, little, well, for example, like the Monster here. Now I know that this, not all of them do this, right? But look how much black there is on the hand there before you start with the real estate. And the Monster's got great loom, right? And crazy good legibility. Look how far down the application of loom goes all the way down. And then there's just the bare minimum where it attaches to the center stack. The rest of it's just fully loomed. There's tons of other handsets out there that do, you know, different variations of it. But this one's just, they made the real estate and they filled it with a heavy application of it. I think I covered just about everything. 300-meter water depth on it, if I didn't mention that. Price, $410. I did talk about that. Let's kill the lights. We want to see the loom on this, right? Full dial loom with a crazy application of 2 different BGW9 and the C3X1. Let's see it. There you go. And what's interesting on this one, because you don't see a ton of them, I can even see the date. I can clearly see the date loomed on this one. So I like the white, brilliant white dial with a cool blue tone to it with a massive application of that super bright green loom. It's just, that is a really good combination. I am very happy with that. And check that, man, they stuffed a lot of loom even in that crown. This is impressive. Very impressive. You can't be mad at that. If you're a loom junkie, this is going to satisfy. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you on the next vid.